All right, let's bring in Kevin Green, senior markets correspondent, to set up some of the action today. Let's talk a little bit, start out with Delta. Delta under some pressure this morning off the back of that plane that essentially went belly up over the weekend. It seems like there's been just this spate of safety incidents with airplanes recently, things that we haven't seen in a while. How does this seem to be playing out in terms of the reaction with airlines, KG?
Well, you did see an initial reaction to the downside when it came to Delta, and it's down about 0.75% at this point in time. So it actually did kind of regain some of the momentum that it lost overnight. But you are seeing a lot of pressure and obviously a lot of questions that are going on. As you kind of talked about, Delta Airlines CRJ 900 regional jet did flip as it was trying to land at Pearson Airport in Toronto yesterday evening. But as we all know, it does appear that all of those that were on the plane actually did survive here. And obviously there will be a little bit more of an investigation as to what actually happened. And I'm not sure if you've seen the video, but it does look pretty scary when it comes to that landing there. But there's a lot of conflicting information. You know, initially when you have the fire chiefs on the ground there, they did say that the runway was dry and there weren't any issues or what have you. But once again, if you kind of look at the video, it does appear that there might be some ice on that runway. That's what it's perceived here. But Delta is trying to get ahead of this, obviously broader communication when it comes to not only their customers, but for the industry is going to be very key. And it seems like they are trying to mitigate these issues. And you're just seeing a little bit of hesitancy, right? A little bit of questions entering the market as to the safety of a lot of these airlines. Now, on the other hand, you are seeing Southwest Airlines down about 10%. Now, that's not related to this particular incident. Right. So you are seeing some pressure when it comes to the airlines. But I think Southwest is more of a restructuring, layoff announcements and things of that nature, rather than being related to this particular crash.
With these kind of high-profile incidents that are occurring, is there any risk to an impact to consumer demand, and then even, you know, to the path forward when it comes to revenue, or is it too soon to tell?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the numbers yet to really kind of confirm that, Diane, but, you know, you can make the case that, you know, adjustments to travel, especially for the summer and the fall for this year, can be made. I can tell you, you know, personally in our household here, I'm trying to go down to Florida, and the family right now is saying, hey, let's just drive to Kansas City, which, you know, no one really wants to go to Kansas City unless we're seeing a football game. So it is impacting us here in the Green household, and I'm sure that there's other travel plans that are being impacted. But right now, we don't see it in the TSA numbers, which is obviously going to be key. We also have to just keep in mind, too, airlines have had a phenomenal run here over the last year or so. A lot of optimism when it comes to the right sizing of their business, capacity, taking some capacity online, still having some pricing power to the upside here has really been a tailwind for a lot of these airline companies. So not sure what's going to actually happen with travel, but I think under the surface, some consumers might be questioning the safety of travel right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, Delta has obviously been a winner year to date. United was the big winner last year. Beyond safety, how much, you know, airlines dealing with, you know, fuel costs, et cetera, how do these factors play into investor sentiment around the airlines, KG?
Yeah, so there has been a pretty significant transition that has taken place post-COVID. We did see a fair amount of airline companies paying down a lot of their debt, and then restructuring a lot of the labor deals. And so those that have been able to get longer term contracts in place for their employees now can forecast a little bit better when it comes to their marginability and profitability within their company here. You're also seeing obviously a resurgence when it comes to business travel post-COVID. That's a very profitable business. And then international travel continues to be very strong. And you can actually have that data set complemented by what we have seen from MasterCard and Visa, where cross-border travel is hitting record highs at this point. So if you're a domestic player in general, like Southwest Airlines, it might be a little bit difficult. But those that have a little bit more of a hybrid approach when it comes to the revenue streams for international and domestic, like a Delta Airlines, American Airlines, or even a United, actually have seen some pretty good profitability metrics over the last couple of quarters.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Baidu. It is under some pressure after its latest quarterly numbers. Can you take us through some of the details, KG?
Yeah, seeing a little bit of a slide to the downside here. The revenue number did exceed the street's expectations, as you kind of talked about. The dollar comps here, revenue came in at $4.68 billion. Street was looking for $4.6 billion, but on a year-over-year basis, that was actually a contraction of 2%. and the adjusted earnings per share came in at $2.63. Street was looking for $1.78, so that was actually really good there. Now, the problem that you're seeing and when it comes to a little bit of a pressure for the stock here is that ad revenue is not growing as aggressively as the Street has expected. Now, obviously, they are seeing some tailwinds when it comes to the AI story, but their bread and butter is ads, and the monetization of their AI platform, ErnieBot, which is kind of similar to ChatGPT, has not, once again, met the Street's expectations. So this has actually been a company that has not participated as aggressively to the upside as we've seen some other China-related tech stocks over the last 2 weeks here. And unfortunately, this report kind of signifies the fact that maybe they still have some pressures here, some competitive issues within their own country, and the fact that they are losing market share when it comes to search. That has been something that has been acknowledged within the conference call or within the earnings announcement here. So a mixed report to say the least here, but the bright spots that the market really wanted to see just were not existent right now.
And then KG, I want to get your technical outlook for the S&P 500. We came within inches essentially of a new closing high on Friday before we had that late afternoon sell-off, that de-risking effect that you talk about that's often come up on Fridays. What are the levels that you're paying attention to today?
Yeah, I would say to the upside, it's not really that much upside room here that I'm looking at. I'm looking at 61.30 to 61.40 to the upside, and then to the downside, once again, holding that 6,000 level. I find it very interesting. Jeffrey Hirsch, which is the CEO of the Stock Traders Almanac, actually had some really interesting data that he posted last week. The S&P 500 has been down 6 out of the 7 Tuesdays after President's Day. And once again, the returns, when you're looking at the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, have been negative. So traditionally, this kind of kicks off the vol spike in the S&P 500. Let's see if we're going to buck that trend here today. Obviously, we have some economic data hitting the tape this week, but nothing that's really too much of a headline mover for the most part. So I think this is going to be trading on technicals, and we have the monthly expiration this week as well. So a lot of options flows will be on the radar, and let's see how we're going to be able to pan out. The momentum is definitely signaling to the upside here, though. So if we do get a nice little break, we get above 61.40. I mean, conversations around 6,200 could be in the cards here for this week, but we need to have that positive catalyst in order for us to do so.
Yeah, so not a lot of catalysts on the fundamental outlook, but more about paying attention to the technical levels. Kevin Green, senior markets correspondent, thanks a ton for the setup for today and the deep dive into Baidu and the airlines.